Hello, one and all, and welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat. My name is Mitch Patson, and we're always joined by Ethan Daffy, and we are today reviewing the Gold Coast Suns v Carlton clash. We kind of it's kind of every single win we get now, we just kind of just take them when we get them, and this is probably arguably our biggest test yet. But of course, it was Gold Coast 13 goals, 987 to Carlton, winning by four points, 13 goals, 13 points, 91. First things first, Daffy boy, how are you and how is your heart rate?
My heart rate has recovered, Pato. It was a weird afternoon. Obviously I wasn't home, but I was watching the game. I literally watched the entirety of the game on my phone. I was glued to it. I looked like a dickhead. I was at the local footy, and I barely watched a minute of that game. And I was just straight on the Foxtel Go on my iPhone. I was shitting myself. But yeah, it was another win, of course, but a different win again. We're finding different ways to win this year. Like we said, with those first seven or eight wins, probably the 7 wins, we were on top of teams for majority of the contest early, and we probably just killed them off. But the last 2 weeks we've had to dig deep. Teams have thrown everything at us. The D's threw everything at us, and yesterday, credit to the Suns, they have really nothing to play for, and they threw absolutely everything at that game. And obviously we took the chocolates, but they seriously could have. It could have been either way, but we are locked in the 8. I was 11 years old last time that happened, and it's unbelievable. When we can put our feet up next week and we play the Giants and relax for a week, eh?
Yeah, I know. Well, I was 12 when we last made it, and I've actually never seen a final live because I actually didn't go to that Carlton Richmond game. I bloody wish I did,
Yeah.
but I was watching it at home because we couldn't get tickets. So I'm just excited because this is the first time I'll ever be able to actually watch a final live. But it's just to think about it. Like, to touch on the finals for a sec, like it's been a decade. But also,
Yeah.
it's so pleasing to see guys that we've kind of grew up with, where you see like the main rebuild, whether it's Harry Mackay, Charlie Curnow, Jack Silvani, David Cunningham, year before Paddy Cripps, a few years after Paddy Dow, TDK,
Yeah.
all those guys. These are guys that we've grown up with, and
Yeah.
now we're seeing these guys really mature as professional footballers, and now they are finally at the stage now where they can kind of just relax for a bit. They don't have to worry about any other results. Like, of course, you still want to try and win,
Yeah.
but you kind of just want to, like, now you're finally locked into the 8. You're locked into the finals. You're playing in September. The only really play that really comes to mind is George Hewitt, and
Newman.
Newey as well, and then of course Zach Williams, but he's obviously not playing. But probably those 3 are probably the only 3 that come to my mind. Maybe Chera, but I don't think he played finals.
Akers last year.
Akers as well. Shit. So it's good that we've got a bit of finals experience around. But yeah, I mean, as you said, I think it's just pleasing, and we were both so young the last time that we played against played in finals, and now we're 22 and 21, and we're both watching them again. But initial thoughts, Daffy boy. I'll say a few things before I transition to you. So obviously it's 9 wins in a row. As I said earlier, I think it has to be probably our biggest test yet because we were 40 points down, and it was hard, like it was the start of that second quarter. David Swallow was somehow almost halfway through that second quarter. But yeah, to come down, to also 40 points down against Gold Coast Suns outfit that were also playing to impress a Damien Hardwick, which is of course now pretty much locked in that he's going to be the coach of the Suns next year. So you're kind of playing for something like that as well. So, like, of course, they always have something to play for every single game they play because at the end of the day, they're playing for a premiership coach. So, but yeah, 40 points down at Heritage Bank Stadium as well. It's a very tough place to play, and we don't seem to really like playing there. But initial thoughts, Staff, what were your thoughts from your end?
Yeah, I just think it's another monkey off the back, and I think it's showing our improvement, our massive improvement when we win these games where we always talk about, we're always worried about. We're always worried, as Carlton supporters, we're always worried in a sense where, oh no, we've got the Saints. Tick them off. Oh no, we've got Collingwood, we lost to them in the last round. Tick. And Melbourne last week. Tick. It's becoming, we're a good football side. There's no way anyone can't say anything but that right now. We've got a squad obviously full of talent, and they're finally clicking in a way we know they've been trying for years, probably the last couple of years, where we know they can do it. But yeah, that's, for me, it's a monkey off the back, and obviously the finals drought. We don't have to rely on fucking West Coast to beat fucking anyone. We just it's our own story. We're writing our own story. We don't have to rely on other results. We don't have to rely on the bloody West Coast VFL team to beat bloody what does it. You know what I mean? It's just us. It is us, and it's we can sit back on a Sunday afternoon and watch all the footy and all the crap teams that play in this league who aren't the Carlton Football Club, Pato, because we are coming. Job's not done. Like Vossi said, job is not done, because we're going to be impacting finals. If we play like that, said it 9 weeks ago after the Gold Coast game, if we play like we did for the next few weeks, we will not lose games. And what have we done, Pato? 9 weeks in a row playing that brand of footy.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say about it. Initial thoughts, mate.
Yeah, because I know that, like, even yesterday after the game, I was saying to my mum, and I was like speaking to her about like the difference from last year and this year. How last year we lost 4 games in a row towards the end of the season, and that was because like we were pretty much locked in, but we just couldn't take it. Like we just couldn't get that extra step to actually take every other results out of our way. We can actually do it, but we just weren't able to actually get that 4 points. But this year, the maturity is 9 wins in a row. We could have easily lost yesterday. We could have easily lost against Demons, but that's the change of maturity. And I think yesterday the game management was a little bit more convincing in a way than it was against Melbourne. Because I think Melbourne, I still think we were a little bit lucky in a way. Like, I know that maybe Petrarca to a stretch, maybe it was a goal. Nick Newman's kick to Salem, maybe that was also, should have been a goal as well. But we still won. So at the end of the day, the other team still has to kick the fucking goal. So they can't, like you can't say, oh yeah, the game management was trash from Carlton against Melbourne. Well, it wasn't, because we still won the game. But I think yesterday the game management was a lot more effective in a way. With what I saw, I was confident with 2 minutes to go. That's just what I felt. But against Melbourne, I was like PTSD. I was like, oh no. But after that game against Melbourne, I'm like, against this game against Gold Coast, I know that they're not as good as Melbourne, but I was still just confident. I was just all right, this is what I like. Just be calm. And as you said last episode, just enjoy the moment. Enjoy being in that moment where if you get the win over a pretty good outfit in Gold Coast, we did it. Like 40 points down. Unbelievable. But now, as we always do with every review episode, we always touch on the defense, midfield, ruck, and forwards. We touch on each line and just go through a few players that really performed. And as we always do, we start off with the defense. But to touch on 3 names, and the 2 top names are probably always there. But the last name, and I reckon I also will touch on another name. So Jacob Wiedering, of course, so his direct opponent was Levi Casbolt, and Levi did not have a single impact. And Wieders, exact same thing last week. Brodie Grundy did not have did not have any impact on the game. So this is why Jacob Wiedering is so impactful, and he's by far our most valuable player. That's just my opinion. I've always said it. When your key defender is up and about, you do not lose games. And and who would have thought when we won 9 in a row, when we won our first game against Gold Coast, we just was starting to get his form back. Then we started to win fucking games. So I think Wieders played an absolute great game yesterday. Nick Newman, he just keeps on doing his thing. I'm pretty much convinced right now that it will be all Australian squad 100% Nick Newman, but maybe even all Australian team Nick Newman. So 31 touches, 9 marks, 4 tackles, pretty insane. Caleb Marchbank, quite good. I reckon he was quite solid. So 15 touches, 7 marks, and I wrote there, holy moly, because once again, it brings selection headaches. Because you got a guy like Mitch McGovern coming back next week. He should be back next week. What do they do with Marchbank? Because same thing with Paddy Dow, which is what we'll touch on later on. Paddy Dow, you can't drop him. So with what they're gonna do with Caleb Marchbank and Mitch McGowan, we don't know. But the last guy I'm gonna touch on, and I want your thoughts. Brody fucking Kemp. Holy shit, mate. How good is he? Well, I don't know the exact can't even speak that boy. I'm that excited. I don't know the exact. Here we go. So Brody Kemp, 18 touches, 9 kicks, 9 handballs, 4 marks, 1 tackle. But I just still think his impact on the contest was whenever he marked it, whenever he was around the ball, you knew that it was Brody Kemp. So, and good players like that, whenever they get the ball, they're just exciting. But to touch on those 3 names, and of course Brody Kemp to finish, and I mean to all the viewers out there, I want you to tell me if Daffy Boy looks a little bit like Brody Kemp, because I have always thought that, but I want you to tell me in the comments if you think Brody Kemp looks like Ethan Daffy. But those 4 names, Daffy Boy, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm flattered, mate, to look like Brody Kemp, mate.
Who wouldn't?
I'll take that any day of the week. No, our defense are really good once again, and we've both really talked them up over the last couple of months, and their impact on games, and they've just been good the whole year for mine. I think they've been really, really good. I think what's improved with them is their ball movement out of D50, leading to goals, which has been a massive improvement. I think that was the one negative I had with our defense earlier in the year, but now it's seamless, and like you said, with all these names, Wiedering, you can almost argue he's all Australian.
Yeah.
I reckon he's played well enough for long enough this season to be in. Like, seriously, it's going to be interesting. Come all Australian time, obviously, we're biased and we want all these guys in and stuff like that. But geez, it'd be close again, I reckon, because Moore's missed the last month. Like,
I've got a question. So right now, who usually there's 2 key backs. Who are the 2 names in the All Australian team right now that you think will be in there, other than Wiedering?
I think they'll put Moore.
Yeah.
I think Moore will be in there, even though I reckon he is not quarter of the defender Wiedering is. And then they talk about Sam Taylor, maybe, but last few weeks he hasn't been on just because, the pressure's been on him. So why not? Why not, Jacob? He's definitely the best, in my opinion, in the league when he's up and about. He just does his thing. He's a brick wall, doesn't lose one-on-ones, kept Casbolt goalless. I was worried about that last 10 seconds. I thought Levi was going to mark it. I just had a feeling this, big fella was going to take I was going to say something worse there, but the big fella was going to take a mark deep in their forward line. But I'll move on to the other defenders. Nick Newman, once again. You can throw an All-Australian squad in the bin. He's going to be in the team. But we'll see you there. If he's on the team, what are they going to put? Who are they going to put halfback? He's the best halfback in the league, mate. Nicky Newman. 31 touch. He's getting his touches too.
Yeah, he is.
I think it's a thing with Voss is that he knows he's got the weapons down back to drive the ball forward. We need to use them. We need to use these weapons, which we weren't using enough earlier in the year. Guys like Newman, Sard, anyone, even Chincotta. Just their ball use, their weapons with ball in hand. Give it to them. Give it to them. But, it's really good to see when blokes taking marks on the wing or in the middle of the ground, they're always opting the handball, and bang, and then they're out. So it's just really good to watch. And Newey's ball use is, well, I don't know what to say about that, Batto, but he's, but yeah, Marchbank really solid. Obviously, I think it's his third game back or 4th game back, and he's really solid. And we know what he brings. So if he's in the team next week or come finals time, we know we can trust Marchy. But yeah, Brody Kemp again. I think him and Weeders are becoming a really, really good duo. And I think Brody Kemp will have a really big say in the future of Lewis Young, in my opinion. I think his ball use is better. He can man up on talls and smalls. Kempy, and he's that kind of interceptor that we've kind of. He's a different type of interceptor. It's really good. Our defense, the mix is right. Finally, I think we've finally found the right mix around the whole ground.
Yeah.
forward line and defence. And obviously Vossi's going to continue to opt to have those blokes in the team. And like you said, blokes aren't just going to come in. I think Chera and Walsh are the locks to come in. But guys like Matt Kennedy and even Jack Silvani, he played twos on the weekend. Like, I'm not saying, like, I'd love to have him in the team. And I think he should be in the team, but he did have a knee issue yesterday in the VFL.
Yes, he
I'm
did.
not sure what the scale of that is, but it's not going to be easy for blokes to come in. It doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even to a stretch, like, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, Caleb Marchbank, you can't drop him after the performance he just produced. And I know the stats are like, oh, he didn't have an overwhelming game, but he didn't have an underwhelming game either. Like, it's a solid game where he kind of kept I think it was who was the other key forward down there? I think it was Lukosius. So I think Marchbank was mainly on Lukosius, and then I think Kemp was on Chol. But those three key forwards, they really didn't have an impact, did they? So, and to a stretch, you're like, does Mitch McGovern come back in? Because you can't play Weeders, Marchie, Gov, and Kemp. So it's either Marchie. I think Marchie's probably the only one who could get dropped. But after that, I just don't think you can drop him. Like, genuinely. So, but yeah, well said about all those players, Duffy Boy. But now we'll move on to the midfield conversation, and there's two names that popped up in my head when I was writing down this run sheet, and I think I didn't even have to see the stats. That's the thing. So I'll touch on the first player, which is, of course, George Hewitt. 23 disposals, 10 tackles. 10 tackles from Georgie. And this guy wasn't playing in our team 10 weeks ago. It's just insane. And I think the reason why he is such a big asset right now is because the midfield mix suits his style. It suits his style. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens when Chera comes back, Walshy comes back. Kennedy doesn't come back in for mine this year. He doesn't. If there's no injuries, he doesn't come back in. We love Bam Bam. We love him. He just doesn't come back in. And it's the same conversation where you have Silvani. I love Silvani, and I reckon he needs to come back in. But like, I think the only player that really comes out for Silvani is Pitnet. That's the only player that I really think needs to come out for Silvani. But the other player, as we mentioned before, Mitch McGovern, like, he was so important the past 6 weeks that he was playing. Now his spot is a little bit like we don't know where he actually stands with the best 22. But the other player, Paddy Dow. Now I'll very quickly go through his stats. So 24 touches, 15 kicks, 9 handballs, 6 marks. This guy didn't drop a mark yesterday, Daff. This guy, like, I'm not even surprised if he'll be in the mix for the key defender in the All-Australian. I wouldn't even be surprised, mate. This guy was insane. And one thing, so he gets 24 touches, but he gets 71% efficiency. He's a guy that takes that risky kick.
Yes.
He gets them most of the time now. And we speak about it. He does not get dropped. He doesn't get dropped for mine. And there's no way you can bring in Chera and Walsh. Like, they both come in 100%. But there's no way that you can bring them both in to have Dow get omitted. I just don't think so. So at the end of the day, Daff, those two names and obviously some other midfielders that come to your mind as well, what were your thoughts on the midfield?
Yeah, it was an interesting battle. I think the Gold Coast midfield's really good. And, when we smashed them earlier in the year, it was really surprising for me. I just didn't think we would be able to really dominate out of the middle because I just know they've got some good names in there. And, obviously Took Miller, who I reckon is a star. I think he gets touched on a lot. That if he was playing in Victoria, he'd be talked about every week. He'd be talked about for Brownlow, early in the years. It's like if Nick Dacos was on the Gold Coast, he wouldn't be talked about it as much because it's just so far away from the Victorian media. But shout out to Took, but couldn't get the job done, mate, unfortunately. So take the L. But yeah, no, the midfield, they were good, and those two names, I definitely think they're the right names to touch on because, Paddy Dow and the way he's changed his game since he's played in the ones, like, he's changed his game massively. He's a different player.
Yeah.
He's obviously the same Paddy Dow and the similar, obviously he's got that burst and that, that speed, but he's a smarter and more mature football player right now. He's not first option, I'm just bombing it. It takes an extra second. Like, I think that's the moment for me was actually last week when he was in the middle of the ground and instead of going long, he handballed it inboard and then it was handball, and then a goal. It was just like, that's just like the penny drop moment that, he's really becoming a really, really good footballer. And we knew he always had it. And shout out to him for working his ass off in the twos.
Yeah.
It's not easy. We've been saying it. It's not easy to do that. Like, obviously he could play in the midfield at a lot of clubs. You can name a lot of clubs. Fucking Geelong would take him right now. They would take him right now. He'd be in their midfield. St Kilda's, all those types of teams. And he's battled away playing twos down at some local park instead of playing in front of 100,000 people, having 40 every week. And then he comes into the ones. And what does he do, Pato? He transitions that form into AFL. And that's the growth in the whole group. We have guys playing twos and they come in and it's seamless. You don't go, oh, Nick Graham's in. Oh, someone's in. You know what I mean? Like, it's a positive more when people come in. It's like injury. Okay, next man up. I'm not worried. I know he can do the job. He can play that exact role. And he's playing that kind of Chera and Walsh role to a T. I think it's been really, really good. And like you say, it's going to be, I think he's unfortunately going to be omitted next week. But it'd be interesting because if Chera and Walsh come in, you can't fit all of them in, can you? I don't think you can. But it could be the sub. I'm not saying I don't think he should be dropped, like you said. But I think it's going to be unlucky, and it happens. It happens. It happens to a lot of players, and unfortunately, it'll be I hope he plays. I'll be happy if he plays, but it's going to be tough with two superstars coming in. But Georgie, he's ahead of Kennedy for mine. I think he fits the mix very, very well. Like you said, the midfield group is perfect for him. He's got his outside kind of inside players with Dow and other guys coming in through the midfield. It's just really, really good to see a really good midfield group. And I think we'll probably be top two in the league. I reckon us and Melbourne in terms of midfields. I don't think you can really, maybe Port Adelaide, they've got a pretty good midfield too. But I think just in terms of depth, we've got no Chera and Walsh playing and we're beating teams out of the middle. That's the thing. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that we're talking about this, like players out. Like, if you told me at the start of the year, Chera and Walsh out for a month together, I'll be like, well, there goes that. We're going to be struggling here. But yeah, Georgie, shout out to him. He's a workhorse and severely underrated. But we love that. I think it's good. I think he likes being under the radar. He doesn't have social media. He doesn't do, he just does his thing. He rocks up to Icon Park, gets his boots on, trains, goes home to the kids, cooks some dinner, and then goes on a Saturday at the G and just runs around like it's his playground. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable. And shout out to him and our other mids. Obviously, Cripper was injured for mine. I think he will be rested this week. So I think Paddy Dow, I just thought about it then. I think Paddy Dow will stay next week. So give Cripps that week off and then the week before the finals off as well, just to rest up. I think he needs to be fully fit because of his first final in his career.
Yeah, I think there will be a few names next week that will just have that week off. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Harry Mackay gets that week off. Like he's had that one game back, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does get that 1 week off. And even whether it's a Walsh or a Chera, you probably might not bring them back in, but I also would like them to have some sort of match fitness. Get them back in. So I wouldn't mind trying to see them back next week. But one more name, and I probably should have touched on it earlier with the defense. And before we move on to the ruck conversation, my question to you, Daff, Zach Fisher. So 28 touches. So I'll quickly go through his stats as well. So 28 touches, 14 kicks, 14 handballs, 5 marks, 4 tackles, when it's 75% disposal efficiency. Now, he's filling that Jordan Boyd role in the halfback flank. Does he stay in for the whole season if he keeps playing this football from your point of view?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. He's ahead of Boydie for mine. Just in terms of, I think we've got enough defense in our defense. Those players who are more defensive than, you know what I mean? I don't know if you get, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, I feel like his role is more, we want him to be impact. with ball in hand. We have impact with ball in hand, and I'm not saying Boydie's bad, like at all. Like I think he's fantastic, and if he comes in during the finals, I'm not going to be complaining at
Yeah.
all. I just think with Fishers, his ball use is that good. I think Boydie's as good as well, but I think Fishers gets more of the ball. I think what is he getting 28 off half back? Like how good's that? Like
Mm.
he's just another. Can I just say Michael Voss? He's just going, he's just go to the twos and go half back, and then we'll turn you into an all Australian half back in 2 weeks. It's unbelievable. He's
Yeah.
played half back. Like his whole career has been forward. It's funny when you put blokes behind the ball and change their position, their confidence grows.
Mm.
It's similar to the whole Liam Jones situation when he was at Carlton. He played forward and then went back, and his confidence just went bang. And then
Yeah.
look at Fish; he's playing with a lot of confidence. And shout out to him as well, because he was obviously had a little bit of a. It's just form patch, and people going, "Oh, we got to delist him." Oh, da 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 da. It's form, guys. Like people have bad months when they
Yeah.
get dropped. That's sport. It's elite sport. Well, it's just it's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows. And obviously he's put his head down and worked his ass off, similar to Paddy Dow, and
Mm.
got back to work. And now he's in a new role and he's filling that role. And he almost kicked an absolute ripper in the last quarter, which I
Yeah.
thought raised the roof at Heritage Bank.
Now that on Heritage Bank, what a stadium it is. But yeah, I mean, you do see it a lot now with I guess forwards and I guess midfielders also to a stretch where they go to the halfback flank. And one of those players that comes to mind straight away is a Harry Sheasel. So he was
Yeah,
drafted as pick 3, where he was a forward, and Clarko just said, "Mate, we'll put you at halfback," and now he's probably going to be a halfback for the rest of his career. So, now we'll move on to the ruck conversation. Now, this one's a little bit of an interesting one. So, Jared Witt's 38 hit out, so he played quite a good game, and I think in total he played quite a solid full game as well, because he didn't come off the ground a lot, because Mabior Chol, who was the second ruckman, only had 2 hit outs, so I don't think he played a lot of ruck time. But to touch on Pito and TDK, Daff, so of course TDK had 16 hit outs and Pito had 17 hit outs. What were your thoughts on their game, and heading into next week and of course into finals? What is the combination that you want to see happening with TDK and Pitt, or do you want to try and see Silvani come back in?
yeah, it was. I feel like they both were solid. I don't think that was an issue. I don't think that's been an issue. I think they've been pretty good in the last month or so. Obviously, Witts was going to win. He was going to win the ruck battle. It was more about what can we do to kind of minimise, because he's pretty good around the ground as well. Big Witts, he gets around and has a real big impact for them, and he wins them a lot. When they win games, he's on the end of a lot of scoring chains. Like he takes big marks, leading to forward entries and stuff like that. So. Yeah, he had 12 touches and he was okay. Witts, I thought his hit out work was really good. But yeah, I'm just looking at TDK. Well, he only had 6 touches. And then you got Pito with 10. But sometimes it's just not like, I don't think that's how our game's kind of built for big fellas. You know what I mean? Like, they kind of it's more about our mids working harder and our smalls and stuff like that. So I think TDK he'll be the number one at Carlton for a long, long time. I think there's something about him. I really like him. He's just endeavour at the footy, and Pito is always an interesting one. You know, like in the hit outs, he's great. Like, great, love him in the hit outs. But then everywhere else, he's just a little bit of a liability for mine. And I don't. If Sauce is fit, come fine. I don't see Pito playing in the first final.
Yeah, I completely agree. Completely agree. Like the combination for mine, and it's been like that ever since
Yeah,
Silvani played that game against Port Adelaide. He needs to play for mine. And even
yeah,
if he was playing VFL, I'm just like, why is he playing VFL? Like Silvani, to me, is an absolute lock in his best 22 outfit.
yeah,
And it's great to have a guy like Pitnet who seems like he will stay and he's happy to be that. I mean, of course, he's not happy to be that second ruck, but he's not going to look elsewhere to be that number
yeah,
one ruck because he signed a 4-year deal. So
yeah,
you know that you've got a bit of insurance knowing that Pitnet is there as that second ruck. But TDK has to be that sole ruckman with
yeah,
Silvani as that second ruckman because, as you said, around the ground he's not as good, and we did see him a little bit slower yesterday because we brought Harry Mackay back in. We see him very slow. So I reckon
yeah.
if TDK is there as that sole ruckman and Silvani comes in, Pitnet comes out, it's a pretty good problem to have. So the last thing we'll touch on, which is, of course, The forward line, so we'll just very quickly touch on Cunners was, of course, subbed off, but it was a bit of a tactical sub. So that, of course, brought on Ed Kerno. But I'll say this right now, this might come back to bite me in the bottom, but the Coleman medalist for 2023 is Charlie Curnow. I don't even have to wait until the actual announcement. I will announce it right here on Baggers Chat. It will be the Coleman medalist, Charlie Curnow. And one more thing before, two more things before I transition to you, Daff, is Harry Mackay makes our team so much better. So much better. Our structure, insane. But of course, the three smalls, well, Martin is a bit of a small, medium forward, but Jack Martin, Matt Owies, Jesse Motlop all kicked 2 goals each, which is so important to our structure and to our scoreboard. Because if Harry Mackay didn't dominate, like he kicked 1, but Charlie Kerno, of course, played well. But you also need other goal scorers, and the mids didn't really dominate their scoreboard as much as they usually do. So that's when the small forwards have to step up. And did they step up? Martin, Owies, Motlop, all 2 goals each. Insane. But Daffy Boy, what were your thoughts on the forward line?
No, I think once again they're working really well together. I do agree with your point with our talls playing. A lot of the talls playing, we were a lot slower. You could tell in that first quarter they were just a little bit slower, and we just had to work our way back in terms of our ball movement and stuff like that. But I thought our forwards were good again. Kind of subbed off. I don't think he was bad. I just think it was just we needed fresh legs in the last quarter with Ed Kerno. Perfect guy to bring on. He's got the tank for 4 quarters, and he's playing 1 quarter. So. It was a good move. It had to be done, and it just has to be someone, doesn't it? You got to pick someone, and it's got to be that kind of half forward ish role if Cunners is subbed off. So Kerno in, and like you said, Pato's sources reveal that Charlie Kerno is the gold medalist a week early. I can't wait for Tex to kick 15 next week.
God,
no way it's happening, because Charlie's the best player in the competition, in my opinion. As of right now. Yeah. He'll be getting. You would have got 3 votes on the weekend. He'd be up there like Brownlow votes very high. I'm not saying Brownlow winning it, but votes. I'm going to be 15 around there. I'm going to be double digits. He would have had a lot of best on grounds.
Yeah.
This year, and he's been phenomenal. And oh man, he's the best field kick in the comp. Does he miss? It's unbelievable. He just hoofs it and it hits the target every single time.
Yeah,
like that. The Mackay goal, he kicks it right in the perfect place so he can run on and kick a goal.
Yeah.
Like he sets up Harry's goal there, and he sets up so many different goals. Just really, really good to see. Like you said with Harry, obviously he did look not lost, but he looked like he was just not a step below his best. Obviously he was a little bit below his best, but it's just getting back into that kind of match thing. So obviously come next week under the dome, he'll kick 8 on the Giants. But no, I think he helps Charlie massively. They can't double team. Obviously, Charlie's clearly the better of the 2 currently, but they can't double team. Like the Saints. Like a few weeks ago, if Harry was playing against the Saints, I reckon Charlie would have been open up for more goals. You know what I mean? It's and people say he doesn't make the side better. We were scoring more in the winning streak when he was playing. So, what are you going to say about that, really? And shout out to Harry, and I hope he gets a bag next week before finals, because I think he can really be an important figure up there. And Martin Owies, Motlop, what can I say? We've had years of saying, can we get small forwards who kick goals? And we're getting small forwards kicking goals. And Jack Martin is up there with my favourite player at the club right now. He's a natural footballer. How about that one where he just marked the ball and he goes, stuff I'm just going to kick a check side one step. Like, he's just a natural footballer. And Motlop's form since he came in late versus Port was it's been a great turnaround. And Matty Owies, what can I say? Matty Owies. What can I say? No,
it's just really insane. Good. It's actually insane with what Owies actually does. And of course with Jesse Motlop, like, as you said then, I think when he came back in against Port Adelaide, late out, I think it was Owies actually who came out.
It was,
And Motlop came in, and like he pretty much was a late change. Like, oh shit, okay, well mentally I have to get ready. And he comes in and kicks 4.5. Like 4 goals in a game is great, but of course he kicked 4.5 goals against Port Adelaide in the first half as well. So he must have mentally just been unbelievable to get himself straight into the zone. But yeah, it's just so pleasing that now we finally have small forwards that convert every single week, and you know that we can trust them. Like Matt Owies, when he had that shot in the fourth quarter, trust him.
Yep.
We trust him.
Yep.
He went back and slotted it. I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. This is small forwards that we haven't had in the past decade. And now
Yep.
finally we have Owies, Martin, Jack Martin. Oh, he is fantastic. So, okay, so now we'll move on to, of course, the best on ground. Now, there's one player that probably stands out in both of our minds, but there's, of course, a lot of other names that played a really good game yesterday on in the Heritage Bank. But best on ground from your end, who would you say?
There's no one else. Can you say? You can't say anyone else. He was best on ground, and it was Brody. No, Charlie Curnow. Charlie Curnow was best on for me. Yeah, he's wow. He's our best player. He's unbelievable. He's unbelievable, and it's just great to see him doing it week in, week out, because all those years we've been, crying out for a superstar since, we haven't had a superstar at forward really, since Fev. He hasn't played Carlton since 2010, so it's, a long, long time. We're seeing a guy week in, week out do his thing. First quarter, he was held down to nothing. Second quarter, he comes out and goes, yep, I'm going to take us. And he dragged us over the line in the last quarter, I think. I think he really took us over the line, and then he takes the last mark of the game, which is just, it's just funny. It's almost laughable because, like, he's dominated out forward, and then the last bit of the game, he goes down back. And they did say during the week, apparently during the week, they've been practicing those moments in games where we get a key forward to go back in the last 30 seconds of the game. They've been practicing these scenarios all week, Harry said. So whether it's him, it was Harry, Charlie, Jack Martins and stuff, like they set up. It's the way they set up. And like you said, I trust them now.
Yeah.
Took games when there's a goal. So they've been practicing it all week, and it happens.
Yeah.
And it happened. Like you said, though, with Melbourne, that gave us confidence in close games to hold on. We held on for 8 minutes against Melbourne because you just knew we were going to just keep fighting. But now it's not even about fighting. It's about, we've got the system. They're not going to score. They're not going to score. They're not going to score because our system is good enough for them to hold off. And yeah, shout out to Charlie if you're watching.
mate, he watches every single week. But even with like Noah Anderson, when he had that shot, I was like, because he's done it before on the Heritage Bank, mate. He's done it before in the Heritage Bank against the Tigers to win the game. But
I thought the exact same thing when he kicked it. I was like, oh, no, it's him.
Yeah, actually, I've got one thing to say. Now, we've had a break in the past 2 minutes, and I don't know if the viewers have realised. I definitely have. When you talk, you're like, usually you look to the left side, but your screen's on the other side. So I'm like, I don't know if he's looking at me or if he's looking at the screen.
Oh, no. So what's happened is I've moved. It's on the left of me, on this side, where I look on the top left, and I've moved it to the centre because I closed the dock.
Yes.
The centre is closer to my camera. So I'll move it back to make it normal.
No, it's fine. It's fine. No. I noticed
I'm looking at you.
Yeah. No, because I'm like, wait, is he looking at me or is he looking at something else, mate? But I completely agree. I think Ed Curnow was definitely the best on ground. Daffy boy, if you heard what I said, I think Ed Curnow has to be best on ground. Ed Curnow, Ed Curnow. Oh mate, he was so good, wasn't he? Ed Curnow. No, mate. To be serious, of course, Charlie Curnow. My golly gosh, like he's just the way he just the euphoric sort of nature that he has. It is just every single time he gets the ball, you know something's going to happen, but also you feel like he now he's at a stage in his career where he's so good that he's also owed something back where the AFL will give it back to him. And something like that is, of course, a common last year, but another thing that he hasn't gotten so far is a final series. And we always say Charlie Curnow is that finals player. And finally, I think the AFL gods have actually looked down and been like, this guy deserves to play finals. And you can touch on Paddy Cripps as well. He deserves to play finals football. But these guys are finals players. And Oh, it's so pleasing that we can now see guys like Charlie Curnow, Harry Mackay, Paddy Cripps, Jacob Wiedering, like all these guys coming through that we've grown up with, and now we can finally see them kind of have like a shed of light on that final series. Because how good is it for mutual supporters to see Carlton back into finals football? Like not even as supporters, but I think
Yeah,
I think every commentator always mentions how good
yeah,
it is to have Carlton back in the eight
yeah.
because it's been something that we
Too
haven't
long.
seen for a decade,
Yeah,
and now it's finally back. One of the big Victorian teams.
yeah.
Oh, just it's so pleasing. It's so pleasing. But to touch on to kind of end the episode, Daft Boy, is there anything else you would like to touch on for the review episode of the Gold Coast Suns?
No, just happy. Really, really happy. Enjoying life right now as a Carlton supporter, and we'll see everyone at Marble Stadium next
Yep.
weekend, Sunday 6:10. So make sure you don't fall asleep at Marble Stadium. It's going to be a late one on a Sunday, work Monday, so it'll be an interesting one. But
Yeah.
let's get the win and secure a home final. I think we'll get it anyway, but I think if we win, obviously we seal the deal with that.
Yeah, I think it's either we get if we lose. I think the only place that we can move down is sixth, but I think that's the only.
Yeah.
I don't know. So
Sydney would have to beat the Demons by a bit to get percentage. Yeah,
yeah,
it's not happening.
I don't reckon it will happen either. But yeah, well, to all the viewers and subscribers out there, the listeners as well, make sure to like and subscribe on every single platform you see us on. It's a great win, 9 wins in a row, but now we have one more week of the home away season before we transition into some finals content, and aren't we looking forward to that? So, of course, round 24 next week, round 23 this week, but round 24 next week, which is the last round. But to all the viewers out there, to you, Daffy Boy, but to every single viewer and listener out there,
Up the
up
bag.
the baggers!